Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show that's about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Pandora. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. This is kind of a weird season premiere just because, to be fair, this is also coming from the fact is I haven't rewatched all of season 1, so I feel like I have a good enough memory, at least of somewhat, of how things ended, but it feels like there's like a good chunk of like story we're being left with, like we don't know where a lot of like things are, a lot of characters are. It's interesting. So part of me is wondering, like, did the show get like soft rebooted with the second season? I don't know. But nevertheless, obviously we see that Jax is now working more CIS things. She's obviously working closer with Xander, which he's now a captain and everything. And obviously they're going after Tierney, because obviously she's trying to get these weapons, which were taken off like protector ships. And it's like, okay, so they weren't able to get Tierney because of the whole teleport thing, which you're like, man, that's going to be an annoying thing this season. I'm sure just all the teleporting all over the place type of situation. But, they captured the courier, but still, it's still not the slam dunk they were kind of hoping for. They were hoping to get Tierney, but then they come back and it's like, oh, who's waiting for them? The Admiral. And it's like, oh, because Osborn's no longer in his position. Someone else has taken his position. And obviously Osborn's not too happy about that because he doesn't trust this new Admiral because of her relation with Harlan, which Harlan gives her that model ship and everything. I'm like, that's most likely bugged, right? Did you check that to see if that was bugged? Because during that conversation when she's talking to, when Jax and her are talking, like the model ship is there, I'm like, that's obviously, because obviously he wants to know where Tierney's at, because he wants to get to her before, Earthcom can, because it's like, well, that's, my child betrayed me, we never... Once again, maybe that's something that... Because he has 3 daughters. Obviously, there's Tierney, there's Regan, and there's... Was it Odessa? Like, whatever happened to her? She didn't die or anything last season. Like I said, I definitely need... But before the next episode, I need to rewatch season 1, because I don't remember a lot. Because Regan got brought up, because it's like, she's the one that got in trouble for the Tereshkova being destroyed. All that got put on her, so... But we didn't hear anything about Odessa. That's why I'm like, I don't remember. Because obviously, Jax talks a little bit about the fact is that Greg, it's like, oh man, he's still alive, but he won't talk to me. So it's like, okay, so there's that. But then what about everyone else? Because obviously she has like a new roommate. It's Zazzy. Obviously Raylan has, just a lot. Obviously, like, there's still a whole marriage situation. But it seems like that's in a better place than it was at the end of last season, or at least nearing the end of last season. It seems like his relationship with his wife, Mata, it seems like it's a lot better than it was. It's, because obviously he had his own complicated feelings with the whole Jax situation, because he was one of the people that, like Jax as well. But regardless, Jax is, obviously still, it's like, oh yeah, there's that other me out there, and, that me, that other person, that Pandora who's lost faith, and it's like, Xander trying to make her feel better by being like, you are never going to be that type of person. You will never lose faith in people. You believe in people too much to kind of lose faith in them completely. So trying to say that she isn't like Pandora, but it's like, what has the other Pandora been up to this entire time? Like, obviously there's still so much on that front we still don't know about. But other than that, she had this dream where she was hearing her mom's voice, but then she has Xander shoot her. So I don't know whether that's supposed to be symbolic of the fact of the matter is that she does become that weapon, because she's like, obviously, like, I'm supposed to be the one that judges, the universe and everything, but it's like, is that Xander shooting her in her dream? Is that supposed to be foreshadowing, or is that just kind of some fear that she's like, because I'm not that I am something else that maybe Xander will eventually turn? Like, is it some kind of worry, or is that kind of like a foreshadowing in the sense that, like, maybe Xander will turn against, maybe that's her thinking, like, the last person she's closest to will turn against her, because obviously she was seeing her mom this episode, but she's like, oh, it's just, my mom's dead. But then I was like, once again, have to go back and rewatch season 1, but if I remember correctly, Osborn knows his sister's alive. I think we as the audience know that Jack's mom is alive, because she would visit Osborn at I think it was in his wife's grave. I believe last season she pop in from time to time. We see her here and there. So it's like she's there, but it's like, why reveal yourself to Jax? Is that Jax really seeing things? I mean, because obviously she has teleportation, so she's just like probably teleporting all over the place. But it's like, because if I remember correctly, Tierney and Eve had history, didn't they? I don't know. But it's like, even that's a whole thing of trying to figure out, like, what's that about? Like, because, obviously, well, before I get too ahead of myself, obviously there's a whole conversation about, the Admiral telling Jax, like, yeah, you can't really be, with Xander. I don't want you two to have a relationship. It's I don't want to do anything. I can't really tell you how to, live your personal life, but it's like, he needs to be a focused soldier, and I don't want you being out there with him compromising his focus. So, and then she later on made it clear, like, no, you're not going on this mission. Xander can handle it himself. This is a situation that needs a blunt object, not a scalpel. There's also the return of Jet, which was kind of a weird pull. It's like, okay, it's like, oh, yeah, because now he's dating, or he was, something with Jax's roommate, Zazzy, and it's like that being the whole thing of like him trying to make amends, and he's now Raylan's new roommate, which obviously Raylan's got the whole thing with Mata where it's like obviously they can't go back to the world, they've been banished and everything, but it's like she's like, how about we go off to another world and kind of really live as a wife and husband, kind of, because obviously this is a world where they're the alien. This is an alien world to them where they're treated as aliens. So it's a thing of like, why don't we go somewhere where we can just, start a real family and just be ourselves, so. But it seems like that's going to be something that Raylan's thinking about. But I think there's also probably going to always be that part of Raylan that's like, but do I want to leave Jax behind just because I'm just as involved in all this because I do care about her? There's always going to be that thing of like his feelings for her. Like, I don't think those will ever fully go away, and that's going to be kind of sad. Because obviously you always felt bad about that with the whole Mata situation, even last season. But it's like, if that's still something that's keeping him here, because it did before, it seemed like he had more of a life here than even probably back home, but now it's like, are you going to put what your wants and needs before, like, like how your wife feels, so it's like that's something they're going to have to figure out. I'm curious to see how that ends up playing out. Also, Jet being in Zazzy's room like that, and she's like, what are you doing here? And it's like, it's a little light tone. He's like, oh, and she's like, no, what we did before that was a mistake, but we can be friends. We can do that tomorrow, the just being friends thing. But I was like, she never really pushed too much on the why the hell he's rummaging in their room, how the hell did you get in? I'm like, you up to some sneaky shit. What exactly? I don't know. But nevertheless, Xander's on that ship because he got the coordinates from the courier about everything, because he was able to kind of piece it together, like with what information they had about everything, to figure out like some of the details about everything. But they get on the ship and they end up finding the devices or whatever it is, obviously, that Tierney wanted, and it turns out they're like weapons. Lo and behold, Eve shows up, and obviously for Jax is kind of like, wait, what? Because it's like, I mean, to be fair, let's not forget, this isn't actually her mom. This was more like the scientist that was meant to look after her type of situation, But it's like, is your husband actually dead? Did you survive? Why have you not let Jax know? Is it because you're like, I guess maybe in her mind it's like Jax is on and knows, at least has a better understanding of who she really is, and it's like, I've got my own part to play and everything, so, but it's just like, why are you keeping a distance from your daughter? But I guess it's because it's not really your daughter. But it's like, we still don't know what that thing is that obviously the device, because obviously she's like, you should have given it to me. It's like, honestly, one of your people shot first and set everything in motion, but this thing, like, it's some living weapon, a thing that just eats. Like, it looks like it just like breaks things down. Like, I don't know what to kind of refer to it as. It almost seems like acid in a not necessarily like acid. I don't know what would be the word to describe this thing, because it just devoured everything until like there was nothing. It looks like it probably breaks things down, maybe even to a molecular level, and devours it, because it happened to people's bodies. Luckily, Xander was able to get off the ship before it completely got devoured. But the thing is, because he's lost contact with Earthcom, they don't know he's still out there, so he's just floating. I'm assuming eventually he's going to run out of oxygen or whatever. So it's like, like the Admiral's even telling Dax, like, there's no point to even sending anyone out there. There's no one out there because we can't get in contact with anybody. I'm like, at least check, because they don't know the full situation. Because maybe you could be like, oh, maybe there's something we could check, wreckage of the ship or something like that, find out what happened. So that'd be reason to go to. But then probably you go there and you're like, oh, there's absolutely nothing here. But obviously that nothing there is actually Xander floating in space. So like I said, it's interesting because it's like I feel like there's a lot of kind of like filling in gaps while also just being like I said, it feels like a soft reboot, and I don't know what to really make of that. I haven't looked into anything. I didn't even see what the season of this trailer looks like. I caught like a sneak peek of it, like at the end of the episode. But I was like, I'll keep myself in the dark about a lot of this. But I'm like, I'm so curious to see where all this takes us. It looks like there are small things happening. I guess it doesn't seem like there's anything like major that went down. There's some like things, but it doesn't seem like major heavy like plot stuff you would expect in maybe like a premiere. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know what to make of it. It's weird just how we're just like it feels like we're abandoning so many storylines from last season, and you're just like, yeah, what about that? I don't know. I did also want to talk about, I didn't even notice until, like I said at the end, dedicated to Ben Cross. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that. Obviously, if you're unaware, Ben Cross is the actor who played Harlan in season 1, the older version of Harlan. Obviously, you're seeing his younger form and now everything. The thing I'd best knew him from was the TV show Banshee. He played, her fake name was Carrie, but her real name was Anna, if I remember correctly. He played her characters. He played her dad. I want to say, it's been a while. Wasn't it Rabbit or what? I forgot what his name. Or was it Bunny or something? It was something rabbit related, I think. I could be mistaken, but I had no idea he had passed away at some time. So, like I said, actually, I'm a little lost, and I feel like I said, remembering where last season ended off, I feel like doesn't really give me enough context to figure out this. Like I said, there's just so much left unanswered. Hopefully, we get some answers soon about filling in some of those gaps, as well as giving us better understanding and idea of what to kind of really expect from this season. Obviously within the context of the show, not just like watching trailers to find out where things go. But I'm curious to see where all this takes us going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.